Welcome back for part 2 of our analysis of the Oarai vs Anzio battle. Last time we looked at it from a character and story perspective, and here's a card here and it's linked below if you haven't seen it already. And today, we'll look at it from a more technical and tactical approach. No official sponsor this week, so this video is brought to you by my own light novel series Light Into Another World. Volume 10 just released last month, so if you enjoy fun isekai fantasy adventure stories, go check it out. There's a lot of story ready available to read, and more coming before too long. Now, on to the video. While, for the second part of our battle analysis, we'll be looking at the tactical and technical aspects of this fun match, I'll also leave a spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't seen this point in the show yet. If you haven't really watched it yet, what are you waiting for at this point? That taken care of, let's get into the action. While, as I mentioned in part 1 of this battle analysis, the battle wound up being rather one-sided by the end of it, it was one of the more dynamic, fast-paced, and creative battles we've seen throughout the show, especially when compared with other battles from Season 1. As is easily noticeable from the outset, Anzio really has no choice but to be creative, since most of the Sentinel roster is made up of CV-33 tankettes, which, while fast and useful in some contexts, like for scouting, are virtually useless in direct combat against even light tanks, at least in any conventional combat sense, which leaves them with only their handful of Semoventes and the P-40 as tanks capable of actually engaging enemy tanks. Actually, since Semoventes are technically tank destroyers, it actually means that poor Anzio literally only has one actual tank on the roster. Insert joke about the ineffectiveness of the Italian army in World War II here. However, Anzio, thanks in part to its commander, Anchovy, does come up with some creative strategies to utilize its assets effectively. But as we'll see, even the best laid plans don't survive contact with the enemy, or, at times, those tasked with carrying them out. As the battle begins, Anzio's plan is already being put into action. Utilizing the fast tankettes, they'll set up decoy tanks at key locations. The idea behind this, as best as I can tell, is to confuse Oarai regarding their positioning, while they move into better positions to attack with the Semoventes and P-40. Dummy tanks and other vehicles were, of course, famously used more than once to great effect in real life during World War II. Though in real life they're usually inflatable, as I recall, instead of 2D cutouts. In any case, this does work, at least for a bit. Over on Oarai's side, we see for the first time, in a chronological sense at least, the team enacting a coordinated plan from the get-go, with Miho dispatching 2 of her lighter tanks to scout ahead on the unfamiliar battlefield. They're the ones who find the decoys and are briefly fooled. In fact, it's possible they might not have realized they were fake soon enough to turn Anzio's plan on its head so completely, had Pepperoni and the rest of the CV squad not mistakenly used all of the decoys, and thus creating a numbers disparity that told Miho and the rest of Oarai something was up. Yes, Pepperoni, brain power can win the battle, but only if you don't fumble the ball. This really just goes to show how easy it is for a well thought out plan to go completely awry. And this sort of situation is something that absolutely has happened many times in the real world. Heck, anyone who's spent time in the military anywhere can attest to just how easy it is for plans to become all fouled up. And that applies to both combat and non-combat operations, by the way. But let's not get sidetracked. The cover blown, Oarai gets proactive. In the case of Rabbit Team, a little too much so, as they aggro several real Anzio units. The plan from here, for Oarai, becomes disrupt the enemy movement to force them to regroup and shift fully to the defensive, while simultaneously using the main Oarai spearhead to go directly for the P-40 before Anzio can fully regroup. Keeping the 38T, the Oarai flag tank, with this group, serves as a way to ensure that the aggressive Anzio team, which also knows they only have a few tanks that can actually knock out Oarai's flag tank, to engage instead of retreating and trying to regroup again. Miho has done her homework, and it shows. Once first contact is made, Caesar's Duke 3 and Carpaccio Semovente take each other out of the fight, in a practical sense at least, not literally, yet, essentially leaving it, the Panzer IV and the 38T versus the P-40. At this point, the fight is split into 4 separate engagements: the aforementioned flag and command tanks, the Stug and Semovente duel, Rabbit Team versus the other 2 Semoventes, and Duck Team versus the CVs. There isn't a whole lot to say about the tank jousting match, apart from that it's a really cool little duel. It's also rather unique in terms of tank duels, whether in Girls Und Panzer or elsewhere, since these are both tank destroyers. So neither of them has a turret, thus necessitating this joust-like engagement, with each tank trying to get its gun on target and keep itself from getting hit at point-blank range. The level of coordination it would have taken for both of these crews to operate here, between the gunners, drivers, commanders, and of course the loaders, is immense. Lots of tight maneuvering, split-second decisions, and precise timing were all needed to carry this out. Duck Team's challenge here was less technically dangerous, since the CVs really had no way to actually take them out beyond possibly overturning them or something like that. But they were proving stubborn despite their small size. I'm not sure exactly how realistic it is for the CVs to kite the shots like they were here, but given how much care has been put into the depictions of the tanks and the tank combat in Girls Und Panzer, I'll defer to the show creators. My best guess would be that they're just so light that if they're not hit in a solid enough place, they're just knocked aside instead of penetrated. A somewhat similar phenomenon, not in direct mechanics, but in terms of having lighter targets being favored in an engagement, is to when a lightly armored warship is overpenned by AP ammo and not damaged as badly as a layman might expect. In any case, once Duck Team starts being more precise with their shots, they make short work of the CVs. While with Rabbit Team, we get another demonstration of just how far Rabbit Team, and Azusa in particular, have come, as they turn the tables on the Semoventes, and in a great display of gunnery, take one out before they can regroup with Anchovy. While Anzio and Anchovy never give up, at this point in the battle, it's really too late for them. With two of their three Semoventes already gone, as Carpaccio and Caesar mutually kill each other, their only hope is to corner Oarai's flag tank first, which is what Anchovy tries to do. But that just leads her right into Miho's ambush, and it's all over. To add insult to injury, another few Anzio tanks are taken out right before her, resulting in a near team wipe, if not a full team wipe. All in all, it's a very fun, fast-paced, but also one-sided battle. As I mentioned back in my other video on this battle, we knew the outcome from the outset here. And based on that one short clip from the main series, that it was also kind of an easy win. And yet, here in the OVA, they managed to make it into a very exciting, engaging, and creative battle, one which showcases many non-anglerfish team members of the Oarai squad. It's also a bit of a preview, in a way, of the fast-paced, innovative battles we'll be seeing in their film and Das finale, showcasing that while the show has been great from the start, the production team is always seeking to make it even more awesome, which is how it should be done. If you enjoyed this video and like to support me and what I do here, my books and light novels are all available for sale on Amazon. And you can get early access to videos, sneak peeks and updates on my upcoming manga and other projects by subscribing over on Patreon. And while the Kickstarter for Amaranth Angels has successfully come to a close, I may launch a secondary campaign elsewhere, give anyone who missed out another chance to get on board. And of course, if you have any thoughts on this video or there's anything Girls Und Panzer related you'd like me to talk about, make sure to share them below in the comments. I'd love to see them, and I read all the comments and do my best to respond to as many as I can eventually. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.